Hey guys, we have the X5 here. We're going to be upgrading the Harman Kardon audio system to a full set of BimmerTech Alpha One speakers. As you can see here, there's a ton of speakers we got to install in this car. Then the owner will review it at the end. So getting things ready, here's our list of tools that we recommend. And a note to you guys, we don't just make this system for the X5, we make them for a bunch of other vehicles. Bring your VIN number to our website and check it out. Well, I think we're ready. Let's get started. Inside the interior, we'll go ahead and look at the center of the dash. Here you'll find your center speaker. There's a mesh grill. Just take your pry tool and carefully, working your way slowly towards the front and back of it, pry it up and use both your hands to pull it off. With that removed, we'll set it aside for later. Go ahead and grab your T20 Torx bit and start removing the screws. As we flip over the tweeter, you can see the speakers are laid just so. You're going to want to pull up the cables and unplug the tweeter from the mid-range speaker. Both connectors just need to be pinched and pulled. That was easy. Now let's move on to putting in the new Alpha One speakers. Your Alpha One package will come with an inline crossover. It'll take the line input and split it out according to the frequency of each speaker. We'll go ahead and get this thing prepared to plug into the speakers. You'll notice the labels. One side will say mid out and the other side will say TW out for tweeter. And the last one will be the input that will plug in from the main harness. Connects real easily. Just match the connectors and press them together firmly. Piece of cake. Let's go ahead and grab our tweeter. We'll seat it in accordingly, and then we'll plug it in to the TW out. We'll hold it down first with the screws, so that way it doesn't wiggle around when we try to plug it in. I went ahead and dressed the cable off camera so we could move it along with the install. Go ahead and plug it into the TW out. Next, let's plug in our mid-range speaker. On the back side, you'll notice where you plug in the connector. And there's also a place to anchor in the wire to secure it in place. Simply guide the wire with your fingers and press it into the slot. Now we're ready to put the screws back in place. With both speakers secured, let's go ahead and press our grill back on. Next, I'll show you the driver's side door. We'll start by removing the cover that's on the door lock. We'll grab a pry tool again, carefully prying up, remove the cover, and then we'll grab a T20 Torx screwdriver and remove the screw that's just behind it. This is where it helps when you have a magnetic screwdriver, as not to drop the screw when you lift it out of place. Next, we'll remove this cover inside the door handle that's hiding one of the T20 Torx screws. Set the cover aside and remove the T20 Torx screw. Next, we'll remove the electronic door lock buttons by simply prying underneath and pulling it out. Unplug the cable by just pulling it out. Then remove the T20 Torx screw that's behind. Also, there's a removable cap with another T20 Torx screw here and two other exposed T20 Torx screws that you'll have to remove there as well. You have the option to use a large pry tool, or you can simply use your hands and with a bit of effort, just briskly pull on the door to remove it out of place. You'll hear some pops and snaps, which is perfectly normal. Continue to follow along with me as I pry away. At the top edge of the panel, there is a line of clips that require you to pull the panel towards you to access the inside of the door. With the panel free, we'll start by removing the door lock release cable that's connected to the handle. Weave it around the couple hooks, and then simply release it by pulling it away from the door. Next, we'll remove the slide lock connector and the rest of the cables in the door. But we'll start with this one. Simply squeeze and pull. Same thing with this one. You'll find it easier if you turn the door panel and rest it on your feet. Simply squeeze and pull. On this last one, we'll flip it over again. There's a pin that you have to press in order to release the slide lock. Piece of cake. Now we can put the panel aside. Moving on to the speaker, simply start disconnecting the cables. That's the tweeter wire, and then we'll unplug the main harness. Next, we'll remove the T20 Torx screws. Set those aside, and the speaker should pull right off. Next, we'll attach our BimmerTech spacer. The side of the spacer with the notched out edge, as you see here, needs to go towards the hinge of the door. We'll reuse the T20 Torx screws. Once that's secured, we'll grab our Alpha One speaker and we'll do the same thing we did to the center speaker. We'll attach our inline crossover and then secure it to the door. Then we'll grab our BimmerTech provided T20 Torx screws and secure the speaker to the spacer. With the speaker secure, let's move on to the tweeter in the door. You can simply pry away the panel with your hands. The panel is flexible enough for you to spin it around backwards. Go ahead and remove the cable from the foam insulation. Remove the foam insulation, and then we can pry out the tweeter. It's held on by a few clips. Carefully start prying where one of the clips is, and it should pop right out. We'll set that aside and we'll grab our new one. It's a perfect fit. It should just snap right in. Let's go ahead and put the foam insulation back into place. We'll let the wire hang down freely and dress it into the harness. Let's reattach the panel. Starting from the top, start pressing it back into the clips. Let's go ahead and attach this tweeter into the inline crossover. Then I'll dress the cable all together. We'll snip off the excess ends of the zip ties, and then we're ready to put the panel back on. Just like before, we'll flip over the panel so we can access the connection points a little easier. Working in reverse order, let's go ahead and connect all the cables. To attach this white connector, push in from the end first and it should snap into place. With the top of the panel aligned to the door, we can start pressing back in the clips. We'll go ahead and put all the T20 Torx screws that we removed earlier. Then we'll put all the covers back on and reattach the button panel. You can mirror the same installation process with the other front door. Let's move on to the rear door. Again, we'll get things started by removing some covers. In this case, the door handle, this panel over here, both just need to be pried off. There's a T20 screw here, and then we'll remove this panel here. And there's two T20 Torx screws here as well. Let's go ahead and remove all three. We'll set those aside and we'll move down to the screws at the bottom. These are also T20 Torx screws. With this door, there's no cover needed to be removed here. Now we're good to start prying out the door panel. The rear doors are a little tougher to pull on than the front doors. And just like the other door, there are some pins at the top that require you to pull the panel directly towards you. And just like the front door, we'll start disconnecting everything back here. Here, the tweeter is built into the door, so you have to unplug the tweeter from the speaker. Continue unplugging the cables, and you'll be good to go. Next, we'll unplug the main harness from the speaker and start removing the T20 screws. Next, you'll notice the harness is clipped to the speaker. Just pinch it and pull it off. Now we can attach the new spacer. The notch in this case needs to face away from the hinge. Grab your T20 Torx screws and secure it into place. With that done, now we can do the same as the front speaker. Attach the inline crossover, anchor down the wire, and secure the speaker into place. Then we'll connect the main harness to the inline crossover. Before we connect the tweeter, we'll go ahead and we'll dress the cable into place. With all that dressed up, we can move on to the door panel and replace the tweeter. To remove this plastic brace, simply press in the pins and pull it up. Then you could pry out the tweeter with your fingers. Remove the cable, and then we could swap out the tweeter for the new one. It's a perfect fit, it should just snap into place. Then use the same cable anchor, and we're good to go. Working in reverse order, we'll do the same thing we did with the front door. Connect the tweeter and then the rest of the remaining cables. Connect the door latch cable, and then we're good to reattach the door panel. Apply pressure to the door and snap the clips into place. We'll go ahead and we'll reattach the T20 Torx screws, and then we'll put all the covers back on. With a door handle cover, you need to start with the end that has a long clip first. That wraps it up. Let's move on to the rear speakers. Grabbing a pry tool, we'll start prying away at the panel underneath the rubber molding. Once you've loosened the edges, there's a clip in the middle that'll break loose. Now you can see the little pod that's holding the speakers. Grab an 8mm socket, then remove the bolts that are holding it in place. With that loosened up, you can start unplugging the main harness from the speaker. Turn it around, you'll see the two speakers. Unplug the tweeter from the main speaker. Then we'll remove the nuts that are holding in the speaker. We'll set those aside, and then we'll just pull the speaker out. In regards to the tweeter, there's some speaker sealant glue that they have in place. Take a thin knife and cut through the glue. You should then be able to pry the speaker out with your hands. You'll have the same glue spots that are on the cable. Go ahead and cut that out and you'll be good to go. Now we can drop in the Alpha One mid-range speaker. Secure it in place. Be careful not to over-tighten the screws. And then we'll snap in the new tweeter. And I think by now you know the routine. Go ahead and attach the inline crossover. Anchor the cable. Then we'll pop the tweeter in. It's almost perfect. Next, you can anchor in the tweeter cable. Then we can go ahead and plug it in. Now we're good to dress the rest of the cables in place. There's a little pocket just next to the tweeter. You could tuck it in there, and then go ahead and put the speaker pod back in place after you plug the harness into the inline crossover. Now that that's done, we can go ahead and put the panel back on. If you look at the top portion of the panel, there's a removable tab that's there to sandwich the ceiling fabric into the panel. You'll start by sliding that in first. Then you can go ahead and press all the clips back into place. Don't forget to lift up the weather stripping, and be careful because the plastic can be sharp. You can mirror the installation to the other side, and then move on to the underseat woofers. Go ahead and slide the seat back, and then we'll remove the covers on the track. It'll reveal a T45 torque screw that you have to remove. Then repeat the same thing to the other track. Set the screws aside, slide the seat up, and then we'll do the same to the rear of the tracks. With the last ones removed, we'll go ahead and we'll slide the seat back again, and then lean the seat backwards, exposing the room that we have to work on the woofers. Grab a T15 Torx bit and remove the cover. Set the grill aside. And then we'll pull back the carpet, exposing 4 10mm bolts that gotta be removed. With that done, let's unplug the woofer. Press the pin and pull out the cable. Now, be free enough to pull out. If you turn it around, you can see it's open on the back. There's a plastic grill cover on top of the woofer. Just pull it out so we can access the 4 screws that are holding the woofer in place. Now we'll grab a T8 Torx bit and remove these 4 screws. Set those aside. Then we can drop in our plug-and-play woofer. With the screws back on, we can go ahead and put the plastic cover back in place. Let's go ahead and drop the woofer back under the seat. Plug in the harness. Tighten it back down with the 10mm bolts. Neatly tuck the carpet back in place. Then we can put the cover back on. Now we can put the seat down and reattach the T25 Torx bolts. Put the covers back on. And do the same in the rear of the seat. And when you're done with that, you guys are totally ready to go ahead and listen to your new system. So let's get a word from the owner himself, a staff member at BimmerTech, CJ.
With the Alpha One speakers, the noticeable difference was I had more headroom. Like I could actually put up the volume and not have to worry about hearing some distortion. With the factory speakers, you know, I could put up the volume really loud, but you would eventually hear some sort of distortion. But with the BimmerTech Alpha One speakers, I had more headroom. I could put it up and I still got a clear, deeper, richer bass. And that's really what I was looking for, because I like to listen to my music loud. Other than the quality of sound, I would actually have to say it was the presentation. Like when you get the box, you feel like you're getting a premium product. Like it looks amazing. Like the presentation, it's like when you order one of these high-end computers from Apple or any of these premium brands, the packaging is top notch. It's perfect. You know, you get it, you feel like you're getting something that matches the type of vehicle that you have. You have a BMW, so you pretty much want the best product, and what you're getting is that premium feel as soon as you unwrap the packaging and open it up.
And that about wraps it up. Once again, guys, my name is Chaz. Thanks for sticking around and watching this video. If you happen to have any questions, let us know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to see the latest videos that we got here at the shop. See you next time.